Good evening. Facebook and I are having a love-hate relationship again this week. You can see a theme here. I'm landscape. I'm portrait again. Couldn't get landscape again today. I don't know what on earth's been going on with me on Facebook recently. If you've been following my shenanigans, we've had all sorts of fallings out, I don't know, recently. Who's there? Who's listening? Say hey as you're getting logged in. Hey Kerry, how you doing, lovely? Who else is with me this evening? Hey Nixie, how you doing? Surprised you're not sick of the sight of me already yet, Nixie. We've been on a call together earlier, haven't we? Hey Jackie, how are you? Hope you've all had a really lovely weekend. I've been looking forward to tonight's training. A part of me's been looking forward to it. Let me be straight. A part of me's been looking forward to tonight's training, and another part of me is feeling a little bit. I was going to use the word anxious then, which is quite fitting, isn't it, really, for the title of it. But yeah, I suppose a little bit anxious about what I'm going to share with you tonight, because it's, hey Trust, how you doing? Because it's, oh bless you, it's quite personal at points, and it's really raw and real and honest, and I think those videos, those trainings are always the hardest shares. But I've always said, and I stand by the fact that I'm totally committed to sharing with you, warts and all, what it means to be successful in business, in the online space. And not just the highs of that, but the lows as well, and the struggles and the challenges. And do you know what? Sometimes it is just impossible for me to reach you on the level that I want to reach you without sharing my own personal experiences, even when they're really shit, and even when they're things that I've really struggled with. Hey Becky, how you doing? So let me start by asking you quite a personal question. And I'm not just going to ask you without sharing my honest answer to it, because that wouldn't be fair. When I say the words anxiety, who identifies with that word as being something that they can say, I've experienced, or like what word comes up, or what thought process comes up when you hear the word anxiety? Forget high achieving anxiety or high achiever anxiety for now. That high achiever anxiety is what I call it. Let me just block that person. Okay, so it's a distraction. What comes up for you as a thought process or a feeling when you hear the word anxiety is what I want to know. Because it's a word, stress, fear, totally been there. Okay, so it's a word for me that I used to be really ashamed of. And if I'm honest, there's still a part of me that is. Loss of control. Trust, that's a really good one, because actually that's probably why I felt ashamed of it. Because I've always thought that me admitting that this is something that I've struggled with personally would be me admitting some sort of weakness or flaw that would maybe discredit me as a person. But do you know what? The truth is, I've really struggled with this, and I say that I'm in recovery when it comes to anxiety, because I don't, it's not something that I could ever say I am over that now, because I'm aware that it's a process of recovering, a little bit like an addiction, I would say, where you're never over it. You always have to be mindful that you have that tendency and that it could creep back in. And I call this high achiever anxiety, because one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of the highly successful women that I'm surrounded by, whether that be as their coach or people that have coached me or anybody really that I know that's gone on to achieve something really significant can in some way or another identify with high achievers anxiety. So what I wanted to share with you today, really honestly, is my experience of it, how it's manifested, and how I've come to a place where I can manage it. Not eradicate it, but manage it. And actually, I don't think we want to necessarily eradicate it, because there is parts of it that have served me really well. I don't think I'd be where I am today without it, because, you know, it's kept me striving, it's kept me pushing, it's made me never rest on my laurels and get complacent. So there's a lot of positives, but it can be so destructive if it's not managed and kept in check. And that's what I want to share with you. And I've written some notes to help me help you. So let's just start by what is high achievers anxiety, so that you can recognise whether it's something that you might have been affected by or are being affected by. I describe it like this, and when I sat down to write this today, I thought, God, how can I categorise this into a few words? And the first thing I wrote was the obsessive need to achieve, the obsessive need to progress, and the obsessive need to get things right all the time. It's the pursuit of achievement to the detriment of ourselves. Why am I getting a load of absolute inappropriate weirdos on my life tonight? Why is this happening? They're all out tonight. Block. That's bizarre. Okay, I don't usually get this many. So I'm like finding, that's like the third person I've had to block tonight. What's going on, people? So that's how I categorise it. I don't know, Trust. I don't know who they are. So what I'd love to know from that description that I've just outlined to you, no, you're not an inappropriate weirdo, Amanda, is can you relate to that? I'm going to say it one more time. The obsessive need, obsessive being the word, need to achieve. The obsessive need to progress, and sometimes to the detriment of ourselves. And the pursuit of achievement, sometimes to the point where we don't always enjoy the journey, like it can take the joy out of it. Here are some of the symptoms that you might experience if you are someone that suffers with high achiever anxiety. You might have an unhealthy need to be perfect at everything. And identify as an inappropriate weirdo and sometimes I'm also... I wasn't calling you or anybody else, by the way, a weirdo. It's just some men that are popping up with weird comments that maybe you can't see them because I blocked them. A really unhealthy need to be perfect and really like beating yourself up when you don't get something right. Who can relate to that? Just give me some hearts or comment in the chat box if I say anything that you're like, yeah, that's me, that's what I do. And you might not relate to all of these, might just be a portion of them. Another symptom is placing unrealistic expectations on yourself or on your business. Like wanting and committing to achieving something that is really, really big, to the point of, you know, we're told, aren't we, sometimes don't set small goals, no goals too big, no goals unrealistic. But actually, there are some things that aren't realistic. There are some things that require you to go from 0 to 1,000 in a time scale that's not realistic. And then when you don't hit that big goal, fall into this pattern of really being hard on yourself, when actually you set yourself up for it because you overcommitted or you set goals that were just too big. Another symptom you might recognise, and please interact if I say something that you're like, yes, that's me. Major comparison and judgment. And I don't necessarily mean that you're comparing yourself necessarily to someone else. You may do, and this is a big thing. Looking at someone else or other people that have achieved the level of success that you want, or have the lifestyle that you're aspiring to have, or the income that you're aspiring to have, and measuring your self-worth against that. Almost their achievement feels like your failure. Or that comparison and judgment can be directed at you, at yourself. This is what I do. I don't have a problem with not comparing myself to other people. I have a problem with measuring up to my own judgment sometimes. And what I think I should be doing, where I think I should be, even if it's not in physical achievement, but maybe how much you allow something to upset you and how long it upsets you for. Like, I should be over this by now. And that judgy side of you that judges yourself really, really harshly. Another symptom that's really common, I'm so glad that some of you are relating to this, because I know that if you're relating to this, then this video is going to really help. Another common symptom is losing sight of why we started in the first place, because you get so caught up in kind of this need to achieve and see results and progress, and you almost lose sight of why. And a lot of people start a business, a lot of the people that I mentor start businesses because it's their passion, because it's the thing they want to do more than anything else in the world, because it's the thing that lights them up, because working with the people that they're working with are the people that they want to help more than anyone else in the world. And then suddenly they forget that. You know, it's easy, isn't it, to forget that, to forget the mission, the purpose, the reason why, because you can be so caught up on task mastering yourself. Hey Kayla, how are you doing? I have to quiet the judging voice all the time. Me too. Me too. You're going to hear me say me too a lot tonight, because I'm going to be really honest about the way this makes me feel and some of my demons that I've had to face through this process and on this topic. The bottom line is, the biggest effect, of this high achiever anxiety is that it kills the joy that we experience in our pursuit of success, and it demotivates us over time because we're constantly focusing on the things that we could have done better. And whilst that's healthy when it's channeled in the right way, you know, we can have a healthy dose of challenging ourselves to be better. We can have a healthy dose of reviewing what we've done and asking the question, how could I do it better next time? But then there's the unhealthy dose of it that is constant. And every day you feel like you could have done more, and every day you feel like you didn't achieve enough, and every day you finish the day by thinking about what you could have done better. And over time, as a high achiever, that voice that does that to you demotivates you, because you're just never measuring up to yourself. You set the bar up here, and even when you hit it, you move it then up here. And that's what we do as high achievers, and we create our own anxiety. And I've got 4 things that I want to share with you today that I've found to manage this, that have been born from struggle. Not one of these things have come from a textbook. Not one of these things have come from a course or program or something that someone else has taught me. It's come from, not that there's anything wrong with learning that way, but it's come from real pain, which is why some of it is going to be a little bit difficult for me to talk about, but also why I have to, because I know that if I feel like that about it, then other people are going to feel like that about it. So the first thing that we must do to manage this is we must stay true to who we are and what's important to us. Always. Whilst pursuing the success that we're pursuing. And let me just describe to you what I mean by that. When I started my business, my number one motivation was really simple. And it was James. And this is going to sound cheesy, and some of you are going to be like, eh. But it's the truth. He is the love of my life. And up until the point that I met him, I was quite happy. It's making me emotional now because it takes me back. I was quite happy to work constantly. I was in a job when I met him. I wasn't a business owner. And I was working morning and night for very little, and I was in a position like of authority in a big corporation. Like, I got a good job, and I was fine with making that good job my life, because I was fine with that. But when I met him, he became everything. He became the most important thing, not my career, him. Spending time with him, making memories, being happy, doing things that we both love to do, laughing together, just being free. And that career took me away from him constantly, and it took us away from living the life we really wanted to live. And everybody around me was doing that. Everybody around me was making that sacrifice. It was everybody I knew at that point was settling for that life. Going to work first thing, waving off the people they love, working till they were bleary-eyed and exhausted, and coming home, and then what they've got left of themselves to give to the people that matter is very minimal, and then falling asleep and doing it all over again, and living for Friday night when they get to breathe for a couple of days, and then on countdown to the 2 weeks a year that they get off for good behaviour, where they can go and just about afford a holiday. Like, fuck that. That was not my dream. I don't think it's anybody's dream, but somewhere along the line, this is what happens, and it's what happened to me, and it was not the thing that I wanted for myself and for James and for the family that we hoped to go on and have in the future. It just wasn't what we wanted. And that love drove me like a crazy person to learn how to do something different. It drove me in business, it drove me in every sense of the word to be better, to have more. And I can remember when our business was doing like about 3,000 a month. And that's breadline. It was breadline for us. Hey Catherine, how you doing? Nice to see you. It was like just on that kind of cuff of any less and we go under and we can't afford to pay our bills. So anxiety was at its peak, but never because of the bills. I tell you what my big fear was when I was at that stage where we were just about getting by and the slightest thing could have took us under. No savings, no backup, just when we were at that stage, my biggest fear was getting a job. That's my biggest fear. Him getting a job, me getting a job, and us living that life where we go our separate ways in the morning and come back together exhausted at the end of the night and then sit and watch telly and do it all again. That was it. It was the only thing. It was never about being a millionaire. I couldn't give a shit. That's the truth. I could not give a shit. I talk about money. I know it's inspiring for people. There's nothing wrong with, I don't want to give it back either. Of course I don't. I'm not saying that. I'm very grateful for everything that I've got in my life, but I honestly don't give a shit about the status of millionaire. I've got no desire to be famous. I don't give a flying fuck how many Instagram followers I've got. And if I'm really honest, I don't care about turning up here and doing live videos if it's not for the fact that I feel like I'm helping people. Because to me, that has always been the most important thing that's kept me going after having enough to mean that me and James can live a life of freedom. Because that's what it was about. Freedom, 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 freedom. And anything that's carried me above that freedom point, you know, the moment we had enough money to just pack up, travel, work from a suitcase, we did it, and we've never looked back. And we've lived our life like that ever since. If we want to be somewhere, we're there. If we want to do something, we do it. If it's not fun anymore, we don't have to do it, because that's what building this type of business has given us. And that's what the sort of money that we've been able to earn from doing it has given us. But I lose sight of that all the time. And that's the truth. I'm getting emotional again because you're just going to be like, oh my God, she's a wreck this evening. But I lose sight of it all the time, and I'm pleading with you not to do it, because it kills the joy. I should be all the time grounded in gratitude for the fact that I don't have to do anything anymore, really, to continue that freedom that we've now got. I don't. It's there, it's solid. Making money because of what I know, not because I'm special, but because of what I know and what I've mastered. Making money is easy. Therefore, it shouldn't matter whether I'm up year on year or not. But it does. And I get anxiety when I don't progress. And I beat myself up intensely when my sales figures don't say growth, or as much growth as I need them to say. Because of rule number one, because I lose sight of why I started. And I'll tell you something that's really, really hit home for me just recently. It was a big realisation of when I do this. The first year of running my coaching business in year one, I hit 1 million in year one. And I can't tell you how thrilled I was to do that. Not because I get to wear Gucci shoes or be flash. Nothing wrong with those things, but that wasn't why. It was because I was like, oh my God, we can take our lives to that next level of freedom, and I can help more people because I've done this and I know how to do it and I can show people. And then in year two, I noticed that I experienced more anxiety than in year one. And it should have been easier, right? I've already done it. I know exactly how to do it again. But it wasn't because, oh, bless you, Sue, that's really sweet. No, it's not necessarily sad. It's just really honest. And when I talk about it, it drags it up. So, but when I hit year two, I was suddenly measuring my worth on what I'd done the year before, based on what I was doing now. Just doing the same wasn't enough. Yeah, the fear of maintaining it kicks in, Catherine. Absolutely. That is it. Bang on the money. Not even maintaining it, because maintaining it's not enough, because it's not progression. When you're a high achiever, you are driven by progression. So you have to feel like you're moving forward. You have to feel like you've improved. And I was measuring that based on sales figures being higher than the year before. But the truth is, I've done 1 million in my first year. Would it be so bad if I maintained in the second year? Would it be so bad if I fell back a little bit? Fuck's sake, I only needed 10 grand a month, really, to live the life of my dreams, the thing that I set out for. I was doing 100 grand a month, 10xing what I needed and what I set out for, but still beating myself up every month if I wasn't up and increased in the percentages that I wanted to increase. So guess what happened in year two? I increased month on month, every single month on the year before. And I ended the year with more money in the bank account. But was I any happier for it? No, absolutely not. The money didn't make me unhappy. I definitely wasn't unhappy, but it didn't make me any happier either. Because I was focusing at points, not always, but at points on the wrong thing. So what's happened in year three? Got into year three and I'm going, I set a goal, and you might remember this, the beginning of the year I said to everybody publicly, I am just going to maintain this year and be okay with it. What I did last year I am really happy with, and this year for me is about maintenance. By February I'd set bigger goals than I've ever had before. I'd increased my sales by over 100 grand in the first month of the year, and I've got 3 new projects that weren't meant to be happening until the year after, ready to go. Pushing myself harder because there was a part of me that couldn't just be okay with maintaining. totally lost sight of what's important. And it takes me to look at James and I, to sit down and have a conversation and go, what the fuck are you doing? So rule number 1, high achiever anxiety is caused by losing sight of what's really important to you. Don't allow yourself to play that game. I'll be honest, I'm normally really good at grounding myself back in what's important, but I'm also honest in the fact that hasn't been easy for me over the last couple of months. And I've pushed myself harder than I need to push myself for stupid reasons, no reason other than the fact that I need to progress. The second thing is measure progress based on your priorities, not based on you doing more. My priorities at the start of this year was to maintain what I'd already built and do it easier, more effortlessly. So it was after you lost your journal. It was actually, Catherine. Very observant. It was after I lost my journal. That's interesting. Sorry that distracted me then, but that is very interesting. So you've got to learn to measure your progress, because you are driven by progress, and I get that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But progress isn't just on doing more, is it? So progress for me, for example, at the start of this year would have been, I maintained my volume, and it felt easier, and I did less. Progress. Because that's my priority. And it's about you deciding, what is my priority? If your priority is to pick your children up from school this year and be present with them after school and do their dinner and and maintain the income that you had the year before, you can't then start beating yourself up and getting pissed with yourself when the business hasn't doubled, because that wasn't your priority. But it's so easy to do it, so easy to feel like we're not progressing if we're not doing bigger, larger, faster. And that's okay if it's your goal to do bigger, larger, faster. And in my big growth years, they have been the goals that I've set, and I've measured myself against them because that's been necessary for where I'm at. But if that's not where you're at anymore, then that's okay. Thank you, Catherine. That means a lot. Thank you for saying that. Point number 3, set smaller goals and overachieve, rather than setting big goals and underachieving. This is controversial. Some people will listen to this and go, what? You're meant to be a millionaire mentor and you're telling people to set small goals? Look, this is the truth as I see it. It won't be for everybody, and no matter what you say, there's always going to be someone that disagrees with it, but this is my truth. I know that year that I'm describing to you, where I went to $1 million in year 1, I didn't plan for that. That's the God's honest truth. I didn't plan for it. I set a much smaller goal than that from my launch. Who does plan for that? Who goes, right, I'm going to launch and I'm going to do consistent 100 grand months by year 1. Like, that's what I'm going to do. Who does that? Probably someone that wants to seriously punish themselves. That's not what I did. I tell you what I did. I already had a really good income coming in from another online business, and I thought I really wanted to set up courses and programs. And I thought, I'm going to set up this course and program, and I want to, in my first year, at least match what I'm earning from my other business, which was about 10 grand a month. That's what I wanted, because then I've got another income stream bringing in about 10 grand, which meant extra stability to mean that I definitely didn't have to get a job. It's what it's all come down to for me always. Make sure that I secure my freedom. And that evolved very quickly into 10 times that in the first year. Of course, I had to keep... It didn't happen by accident. I don't want to come across like I'm saying it happened by accident. Nothing happens by accident. I had to very quickly B, reviewing what I'd done and tweaking the strategy to up level, and those things happened quick. But I work better setting little goals and then doubling them. Going, right, I want to, for example, do 10 sales in my first month and doing 20. And I find that the people that I work with who are like me, that are hard on themselves and high achievers at heart and suffer with high achiever anxiety and push themselves too hard, work better when they set small, manageable, seemingly achievable goals and then smash them out the park, because they feel great. They're like, yes, I over-delivered. But then you've got to be careful, because here's the trap you can fall into then. Let's say small, manageable goals feels like 3 sales a month for you. So you do 3 sales a month in that first month, and you're like, I've done 3. So then you're like, right, I'm going to do 4 this month. You're like, yes, I've done 4. I'm going to do 5 next month. And you go, yes, I'm going to do... There's going to come a point where you're going to reach your peak, and it's going to get really difficult for you to keep out achieving the month before. So it's about constantly, because that's what I did, all the way up to where it became almost ridiculous to talk about money anymore. Like, well, how much more money do you need to make? Like, it almost takes the soul out of it. Like, it starts to feel unnecessary and soulless. I'm going to say it's soulless. If you stop focusing on the meaning and what's important, there will come a point where you've got more money than you know what to do with, and then what? If you don't rein it in now. So the last thing, which leads into that last point nicely, is being ridiculously grateful for what's already around you. Because when you're a high achiever that's always striving and pushing to the next level and looking at the next thing that you're going to be achieving, if you're consumed by that, then you're missing what's in front of you already. And we can be really bad at this. We can be really bad at recognising how far we've come and how many things we've got to be proud of, even if we didn't achieve another thing, this month or next month. Even if, look at what we've done anyway, look at what we've done already, look at who I am today versus last month, look at what I know today versus last year, look at what's around me already, look at the love I've got in my life, the food that's in my mouth, the light that comes through the switch when I flick it because I have electricity that comes, all these things that some people don't have, that you miss the point on. And I'm telling you now, no matter how much money you earn, promise you guys, these things won't change unless you get a check on them now. They just won't. I used to think that my anxiety, hey Sandra, would calm down, that it would disappear when I earned more money. I used to play that game. I used to tell myself, I can remember saying in my first online business, I can remember thinking, when I'm earning this amount, and it was 3,000 a month, when I'm earning 3,000 a month, I won't worry as much, and I'll be less hard on myself, and I'll work less, and I remember thinking it, and then I remember getting there and going, well, let's make it 5 just to be really safe. Like, when I get to 5, I'll rein it in, and I won't worry like this anymore, because at 5k, there'll be this that's different. So obviously I won't worry as much anymore. And then I got to 5, and then it was like, but at 10k, I definitely won't do this, because then I can save this amount every month. I played that game all the way up to 100 grand a month, and it didn't get any better. Truth, real talk. I'm not going to lie to you, like, that's the truth. It didn't, I wasn't happier for it. I had a lot more freedom and a lot more choices to make, and a lot more people that I was able to help. But it didn't quieten the high achiever anxiety in my mind that constantly pushed me to do more and more and more. So don't kid yourself and think, oh yeah, but it'll be easier when. Because that's the truth. It won't. This comes from in here, and it starts today, regardless of whether you're earning a penny or a million. you've got to get a grip on this now, because an amount of money coming in or a level of success or achievement won't change it. And I tell you this not because it's all doom and gloom. Like, let me tell you, I would not change a second of it. I wouldn't. Even the shit parts, even the hard parts, I wouldn't change it for a second. I wouldn't trade in my life for anybody's. I live a really awesome life and I am so blessed. Hey Megan. And I created that through this stuff. So this doesn't have to be crippling. It doesn't have to be some, this isn't something that you should fear. I share these things with you because if I can help you to get through them easier than I got through them, because no one shared this with me. They didn't. So when I was going through it, you start to think crazy shit like, oh, maybe I just don't want to be successful. Like, screw success, screw money. Maybe I'll be happier without it. Like, I wouldn't, because I was no happier when I had no money than I am now. Like, happiness, money and happiness levels, it doesn't, there is no real correlation in that. Like, not after a certain amount of money. There isn't. Once, I'd probably say about 10 grand a month. I got happier up to 10 grand a month, definitely. Because I could just do more stuff. I could go on more holidays. I could travel more. I was definitely happier at 10 grand a month because of what I was able to do. So I lived a happier life, a more fulfilled life. But everything after that just became numbers, really. That's the truth. So, my message for you today is get this high achievers anxiety in check by staying true to what's important to you and making sure that you're constantly working toward things for the right reason, not just because you feel like you should or because you have to progress, because if you're not growing, you're dying. Which I agree with that. Like, growth can be in a different area. It hasn't got to be in achieving more money, more success, more sales. Measure your progress based on your priorities. If your priority is to have more downtime and earn the same and you achieved it, then great. Don't get pissed off because you're not earning more. That wasn't your priority. Number 3, set small goals and overachieve rather than big major goals that give you anxiety at the thought of having to do the work to hit them and make you feel fearful when you're off track. And number 4, be really grateful. Don't forget to be grateful. Sounds really cliche, and I talk about gratitude a lot, but it is a transformative practice. It just is. There's no room in your life for fear or pushing or forcing when you're grounded in gratitude and just relax into the flow of things. There's no space for both of those things. You can't be both. So if you're in gratitude and in love with everything around you and your life, then there's no space for anything else. I am going to, Jackie, I am going to. I know tonight's been a bit hard hitting, but I really hope it helps at least, even if just one of you, then it was worth it. It was worth the share. Lots of love.